And now it's time to make flat shots. So we're going to go home. We're going to make sure we're in world coordinate system, and we're going to look at this from the front view. And at this point, we're going to just create a what's called a front view. So we're going to go flat shot. We're going to accept all the defaults at the top. We're going to go from by block to layer, continuous line. Under obscured lines can be by layer also with hidden lines. And we're going to create it. And we're going to zoom out a little bit. And we'll throw it way up here. So we scale factor 1, 1, rotation angle is 0. And then here's our view. Now we could interpret it as another hidden line here, but I think due to the taper and the small fillet that's on the inside, it's not picking up on it as tangential edges. At the top end of the cone, and on this edge we're seeing a sharp edge to the back of the part. So we need to manually put in a hidden line for the inside circle if we want to show that as a hard edge. Alright, so now it's time to go to section views. And we're going to set our coordinates to the world, right plane. We're going to use the section plane tool. We're going to use orthographic. We're going to take O, and we're going to do the right side view. We're going to select our plane so the control grips appear. We're going to right click on the downward pointing control grip, and we're going to go to generate section, 2D by block. Now your default may appear like this. You need to expand it. So we're doing a 2D elevation. We're going to leave all these at default. We're going to go to section settings. And under intersection boundary, the layer, we're going to change it to profile visible lines. Under intersection fill, under face hatch, we're going to select that and we're going to select it. And then we're going to pick the pattern and we're going to select the top left corner for ANSI, and we're going to pick ANSI 31. Hit OK. OK. And then our hatch scale, we're going to leave at 1 because we're working an inch. But our color is going to be set by layer. We'll scroll down the background lines. And it's going to say show yes, but no on hidden lines. And our layer is going to be profile and visible lines. We're going to scroll down to cutaway geometry. It's going to be show no, and hidden lines no. Now we scroll down to curve lines. We're going to say show no. Okay, we're going to select OK. And we're going to select create. And then we'll place our view pretty far away. We go 1, 1, and 0 on rotation. Because we do want it orientated with this on the right facing, with the pen facing our front view so that we're using the horizontal paper space for our drawing. Okay, once again, I made all my geometry on the model layer, which is not what I intended to do. So we're going to change our current layer to profile invisible lines, and then we're going to select our two flat shots, and we're going to move those to the profile invisible lines layer, and then we're going to go and we're going to freeze the model layer so we don't see it. Now we'll go to our B view, and we're really only going to have, for this drawing, 3 viewports. So we need to reconfigure them. So let's delete the bottom, what would have been the front viewport. And we're going to move the boundary of this, which will become our front view. And then we need to reconfigure these. We'll use this top one. Select on it once. We're going to use that for our isometric. And we're going to use this other one as the section viewport. I'm going to go ahead and make these short enough that we can't place our view where the revision block is going to be. Alright, and then we move our boundaries for our isometric. So for the purpose of this drawing, our isometric is going to be probably a different scale and much smaller. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So let's go over to what's going to be our front view, and double click on that viewport, and we're going to zoom around until we have our front view visible. Alright, and then over on this view, we need to change it from a right to a top view and do the same thing with our section. Now we have to modify this section because we're doing an aligned section. It goes through the centers of these holes and then off to the right, and what's displayed here is as if you slice the part as a full section, not an aligned. So it's similar to the hand wheel project where we need to modify this right hand side view. But let's get our scales locked down. Okay, so we're gonna mess with our scale, and our scale factor. So we're going to do 1:1 scale on this particular project. On this assignment, we're not asking you to do any dimensions. So all you need to do is a cutting plane and have the section view look correct. Alright, so our section view plane is going to cut through the face here. So we've got this set up with our scales, and we need to align our views. So we're going to MV set up. We're going to align horizontally between the center of the front view and the midpoint of the front of the pin. And that should align our two views. Alright, now that that's done, let's lock our viewports so that those two can't be modified in position. Alright, at this point, we're going to go through our standard procedure. Okay, so now we're going to type in TSLT scale, and we're going to set it as a value of 1. And then we're going to type LTS, and we're going to set that as 0.5. 0.5, we're going to type explode without an E on the beginning. And we're going to select our objects, or go ahead and select them both. We're going to hit enter to accept that. We're going to do global, and we're going to type LW for line weight, and we're going to accept by layer. Now we need to modify the hatch as well, and that hatch has to be exploded using the explode command with an E. So now we type explode, and we're going to select our hatch, which should turn it into individual entities as well. Alright, so now let's move our things to various layers. So we have the hidden line, which is going to go to the hidden line layer. And the rest of our items are going to go to the profile visible lines. And then the entire left section view will go to profile and visible lines. Okay, so the first modification we're going to do is we've decided we're not going to have the pin sections. It's a kind of like a fastener type feature. So we're going to go ahead and create a line in profile visible layer across the section of that. And then we can delete the first 4 lines and trim back the other 2. Okay. And that's a convention for pieces that are on center line that are fastening type features. Now the second thing we need to do is we are going to copy this information over to the bottom. And that's because we're doing an align view. Our cutting plane line is going to slice down to the center and take a 120 degree jog to the right here. So let's go ahead and mirror the top geometry that would occur down here. So we're going to use we're going to go to modify, and we're going to use the 2D mirror, and we're going to select a bunch of geometry there. Let's include the fillet. Probably really don't need the hatch. We'll see what happens there. We're going to accept that selection, and then we're going to pick midpoints. So let's go to our object snaps and select midpoint and turn off center and endpoint so we don't get confused here. And you get a midpoint and another midpoint, and that gives us our mirror. We're going to accept that, and we have our copy. Now we have a little bit of editing to do here. Now our hatch lines, yeah, we shouldn't have mirrored the hatch lines because they run the wrong direction. So let's go ahead and delete the ones we have. We could try to mirror those, I guess, but I think it's almost faster just to extend the ones that we have. Okay, so we're going to go to the extend. Well, first we're going to trim this off. So let's go to trim the segment that hits the fillet, and then we can come back and delete the other line. And now we're going to use the extend command to extend our hatches. have to come back and trim the areas where the hatch does not belong. Now we could have offset these, but this assures that our alignment's the same. So I'm going to come back to trim. I'm going to do a power trim out here and here. And we'll do a power trim inside here. And another one inside there. And we got one little segment that needs to go away there. Alright, so this now reflects what you would see in an aligned view with a cutting plane like we're going to draw over here on the left. Alright, so we're going to change to the center line layer, and we're going to first put some center marks in before we start. So we're going to go annotate center, and we'll put our center mark on the center of the pin, and we'll go ahead and put them on the centers of our circles for our holes. Now while we're at it in this layer, we'll go over here and put our center lines in. So we're going to have a pretty substantial center line that's going to go down right down the center, and another one in the center of these holes over here on both sides. Okay, and then we should be able to grab the control points on them and stretch them to their appropriate length. Our two center marks that we have down here, we want to orientate them differently. They should be in line with the center lines that would go to the center of the part. So to do so, we're going to click on the center mark, we're going to right click on that center mark, and we're going to select properties. We're going to put in a rotation angle of 30 degrees. And what that does is now align that center mark radially. Now let's go over and do the same thing to this one. Oh, and this one actually needs to go 60 degrees to be at the proper angle. The total included angle between the two is 120 degrees. And that orientates those center marks properly. Okay, let's draw our center lines for the front view, which I got to modify my ortho settings to pick up endpoints again. I'm going to pick up the endpoint and drag to the right, one center line, hit escape. I'm going to do another one to the left, and another one going down. And we're not going to have one going up because that's going to be a cutting plane line. But I would like to show one going from the center of the part to the end of that. If we were dimensioning this, this might be where you put your angular dimension. And the center marks should probably also extend past the part a little bit. A little more than that. So make sure you do that on these edges. And now we're going to do our cutting plane line. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and switch to profile visible. Draw a line, edge of center mark to edge of center mark. We're going to go from center to edge of center mark, and then we're going to go from center mark with ortho on straight up, and then we're going to do another line with ortho off, but we're going to turn on extension of this center line out. It's about there. Now we're going to select all those lines we just created, and we're going to override their line type. Select them all, right click on them, hit properties, you're going to go to line type, Phantom 2. Okay, so we've got our phantom lines. And then we're going to do our annotation arrow. So we're going to type leader. Alright, so I'm going to do a rotate. Specify the base point as the center. And we're going to copy that at an angle of 120, negative 120. So that we can have our arrow the same size, same shape, and we should be able to trim back the phantom line. Now the arrow is pointing the wrong direction, so we're going to go to a mirror and select the leader line. Hit enter to accept that, and then we're going to use a mirror line to keep that. And I forgot to erase the source, but there we go. Now we have our aligned section view that corresponds with the view we have on the right. Let's place the ISO next. So we're going to go to our model later, and we're going to unfreeze that. We're going to double click on our isometric, and we're going to do zoom, and we're going to do extents. Okay, and we're going to zoom in, and I think we're probably going to have to put that at half or quarter scale. Let's see what half looks like. That's decent. But our view section. So now let's go back to model space and look at our view. Okay, so we want to make this whole again and not have it sectioned. So we come and we just double click on the section plane boundary, and it should pop back to our full view. Now we can go back to, now we do want to hide this section view here. We don't want that showing up. So our section plane, you're going to select it, and we're going to put it on a layer. Let's put it under construction, and that way we can make that construction layer hidden, and that won't show up in our layout. So go back to B multi-layer, and we have our entire model here. Okay, rendered in conceptual. Now you do need to change some notes. Common radius is not an 1/8 inch. And that's about it for this project. So don't worry about doing any dimensioning on this. You do need to put a title and fill out your title block as normal. All right, so that's pretty much it for this assignment. We'll catch you on the next one.